as we stand here, a component's being assembled onto a car computer every 1.4 milliseconds. The line that builds this computer is the length of a football field. So it's quite complicated. And initially, when we first started building this board, due to the complexity of it, we had to rely heavily on labor. But once we dialed in the quality, the rates, and the yield, we started focusing on making this more efficient. The only way to control cost is by removing labor. The first step is removing labor. The second step is fully automating. The third step is turning off the lights and letting the factory run, ideally. And that's going to be the goal for us here. So 95%, but our work is not done. We're going to be going a lot further than this. So this illustrates the point that a part is not a part. A part has a lot of complexity underneath it. Supply chain is a game of multiple tiers. And what's made us successful is our involvement in all the details with our supply engineers that are Tesla employees. They're Tesla supply engineers. So they're like on our payroll that go and ramp up these capabilities at our suppliers. And then just managing each and every attribute of it. 7,000 a day through the chip shortage, through the pandemic, through all the other stuff that we had to deal with, was very difficult to manage. But because we had all the details, we were able to pull this off. Of course, supply chain is not just about parts. It's also about logistics and a lot of other things. So I'll hand it off to Roshan for sharing some stats.
Yeah, so talking about inbound complexity. Just over the course of just last year, we moved about 16 million pallets from our suppliers to our factories. Just to visualize that, if you put those pallets side by side, it could cover the half the circumference of the Earth. And talking about, again, the tier 2 complexity, over 1 billion electronic components get moved every week to support the production that Karn and team manages.
This is right now, 1 billion components a week,
right.
52 billion a year. This is going to go up, by the way.
And on top of that, we also have the responsibility to make sure the right component is supplied to the right service location to support the growing fleet of our vehicles. And we have about 685 service centers that these components need to show up just in time. And then we've also been, as a result of pandemic and even before that, we're working on dual sourcing and triple sourcing some of our critical components. As a result of it, we have suppliers around 45 countries in the world.
Yeah, our approach really has been to bring the manufacturing of subcomponents closer to the point of consumption. It makes the supply chain more green because you're not burning diesel, moving stuff around. And it also gives us the security of supply of having multiple sources in case one factory gets taken offline.
And that's how we got through pandemic also.
Yep.
So last 3 years were incredibly hard. Karn and I used to look a lot younger pre-COVID. But on a serious note, pandemic really changed the game of supply chain management. We were just not being a regular supply chain person. We were rolling up our sleeves and negotiating with state governments, city managers, mayors to help kickstart our suppliers to restart their operations. There are some really inspiring stories where our supply chain team really fought hard to make sure that the factories don't go down. And it's also a testament to the resilience of our supplier partners. Having said that, it was not all about resilience and never give up attitude. We had also laid the foundation of having dual sources, and also, in many instances, we had many, things that we had simplified, the parts that we had simplified, the supply chain design that we had simplified, due to which we were able to get through the pandemic in much better shape than rest of the automotive.
It forced us to adapt.
Right.
We encountered issues one at a time. It was really a team effort. We heavily relied on the government relations team. You literally had to, the COVID pandemic, as you're aware, happened in different countries at different times. But unfortunately, you need all the parts to make the car. So at any given point, there was one factory that was lying down. There was
right.
one jurisdiction that was being, that didn't want to. They wanted to shut down a factory because you had an outbreak. So learning the rules, understanding, coming up with argument points, leveraging the team, and getting those. It was a difficult but good experience.
Exactly.
We learned a lot.
Yeah, and as we were just figuring out to work with COVID, then the port congestion hit on the West Coast. Logistics lead time went up by twice the amount, and we were operating with less than 35% accuracy in the system. That means at any given point, the ETAs of the vessels were 75% off. So we figured out how to work with that, and then the chip shortage hits.
Yeah, the chip shortage. That was a nightmare. But we got through it. I mean, I think it's a testament to the tenacity of the team and the resilience of our supplier partners. It's mostly behind us, and I think the results speak for themselves. Tesla was able to grow production volumes at a time where the rest of the industry had a hard time staying flat. I think they shrunk, actually, cumulatively. And we're often asked the question, how do we manage through it? And the answer is very much kind of baked through the presentations today. First, we design our own electronics. So in order to control cost, we really had to go and build relationships with all the tier 2 suppliers to negotiate them directly. So these relationships were formed over 10 years ago, and we've really gotten to know them well. So when a shortage hit, we knew who to escalate to, who to call, who to ask for help, and really kind of swarming the issue at the point of constraint. So the best team, strong relationships with vendors, and then we also have a pretty sophisticated capacity planning function. Tier 2 capacity needs to come on earlier than Tier 1 capacity. Tier 3 capacity has to be even earlier. And our team does a very good job of having that strategic alignment with all our partners to make sure that the capacity is ready before we need it. We're a mission-based company. Our goal is to put as many EVs out there. We did not let the pandemic phase us. We were full throttle. And it was pedal to the metal in terms of our demand signal. That also helped. The silicon industry has very long lead times. They invest billions of dollars in sophisticated fabs that take years to build. So that stability and demand is something they appreciated, and it's something that is very much a Tesla thing.